Decide once, conquer forever. Most people don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they're divided. They wake up with two voices inside them, one voice that dreams in fire and another that whispers in excuses, one voice that sees the mountain peak and another that counts the rocks on the way up, one voice that knows they were meant for more and another that begs them to stay small so they won't have to risk the pain of becoming. And every day they delay, the split gets wider. Because indecision is not neutral. Indecision is a decision to be ruled, a decision to be shaped by whatever is loudest in the moment, a decision to let fear hold the pen while your life is being written. You were not born to be a question mark. You were born to be a declaration. There is a moment, quiet, invisible, but permanent, when a human being stops negotiating with their potential, when they stop bargaining with their future like it's something optional, when they stop circling the same block of doubt, the same tired habits, the same familiar disappointments. And in that moment, something ancient wakes up inside them. It is not hype, it is not motivation, it is not a mood. It is a decision. A decision so final it changes your posture. A decision so clear it rearranges your priorities without asking your permission. A decision so deep it terrifies the version of you that has been living on half power. Decide once and conquer forever. Because the world has always belonged to the decided. Edison did not become Edison because he had perfect conditions. He became Edison because he refused to call it failure when the world told him to stop. He burned through thousands of attempts with a mind that was already settled. The decision was made. The rest was just work. Lincoln did not rise because he had an easy life. He rose because he had a purpose that outlived his pain. He walked through ridicule, loss, and the darkness of civil war with a heart anchored to something bigger than comfort. Carnegie did not build empires because he was lucky. He built them because he understood that riches are first built in the mind, through a definite aim, through organized effort, through the refusal to drift. History does not remember the people who kind of wanted it. History remembers the ones who decided. And here is the truth that will either offend you or free you. You don't need more time. You need more finality. You don't need more information. You need more commitment. You don't need another video to save you. You need a line in the sand so real that the old version of you cannot cross it again. Because the greatest thief of destiny is not failure. Failure is a teacher. Failure is a forge. The greatest thief is hesitation. Hesitation steals years. Hesitation steals momentum. Hesitation turns kings into spectators. And the tragic part is, hesitation feels responsible. It feels mature. It feels like you're being careful. But careful is often just fear wearing a suit and calling itself wisdom. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time. You're waiting for confidence. You're waiting for clarity. But clarity is not something you find first. Clarity is something you earn by moving. Confidence is not something you receive. Confidence is something you build by keeping your promises to yourself. The right time is not something that arrives. The right time is something you create when you stop postponing the life you're supposed to live. Look at your life honestly, not with shame, with precision, because you cannot conquer what you will not confront. There are patterns that keep repeating, not because you are cursed, but because you are undecided. You're still entertaining an exit. You're still leaving yourself a back door. You're still living as if quitting is a legitimate option. And as long as quitting remains an option, the mind will use it. The mind is efficient. It will always choose the path of least resistance unless you command it otherwise. It will conserve energy. It will chase comfort. It will seek the familiar, even if the familiar is destroying you. That is why desire alone is not enough. Desire is the spark. Decision is the flame. Most people have sparks. Few people build fires. The moment you decide, you stop asking, "Can I?" and you start asking, "How will I?" That shift is not small. It is the hinge of a human life. Can I is the voice of a person waiting for permission from the world. How will I is the voice of a person who has already claimed ownership of their destiny. And ownership changes everything. Ownership changes the way you wake up. Ownership changes what you tolerate. Ownership changes what you study, who you listen to, and what you allow to live in your mind rent-free. Because make no mistake, your mind is real estate. And most people let anyone move in. They let doubt decorate the walls. They let distractions throw parties. They let other people's opinions sleep in their bed. But a person who has decided becomes protective. They become disciplined. They become ruthless with what they allow into their head because they understand something the drifting masses never understand. Your life moves in the direction of your dominant thoughts, not your occasional thoughts, not your wishful thoughts, your dominant thoughts, the ones you return to when no one is watching, the ones you keep repeating under your breath when the world is silent, the ones you feed with your attention like a fire. And that is why the battle is always internal first. Before you conquer markets, you conquer moods. Before you conquer wealth, you conquer weakness. Before you conquer the world, you conquer the part of you that wants to stay safe. Because safety is seductive. Safety will offer you comfort today in exchange for your greatness tomorrow. Safety will give you approval now and steal your legacy later. And if you don't decide, safety will decide for you. Listen closely. There is a version of you that will die if you don't act. Not physically, something worse. Spiritually. The part of you that was meant to build, to lead, to create, to serve, to rise, will slowly suffocate under a pile of maybe someday. And someday is a graveyard. Someday is where dreams go to rot with the people who never had the courage to make a clean decision. A clean decision is not a feeling. It's a cut. It's the severing of the old identity. It's saying, I am no longer available for my own excuses. It's saying, I don't negotiate with my lower self. It's saying, I will pay the price now so I don't pay regret later. Because regret is the most expensive currency on earth. It costs you sleep. It costs you self-respect. It costs you the life you could have lived. And here's the paradox. The moment you decide, the world will test you. Not because you're wrong. Because the universe, life itself, tests what you claim. It asks, is this real? It asks, are you committed or are you emotional? It asks, are you building a life or are you chasing a mood? And it will send resistance like a refining fire. You will be tired. You will be tempted. You will be misunderstood. You will have days where the old habits call your name like an addiction. You will have moments where quitting feels logical. And that is where the decided separate themselves from the drifters. The drifter obeys feelings. The decided obeys purpose. The drifter says, I'll do it when I feel like it. The decided says, I do it because I said I would. There is a kind of discipline that doesn't come from punishment. It comes from identity. When you decide, you become someone new. And the new you moves differently. The new you doesn't need applause. The new you doesn't need perfect conditions. The new you doesn't need people to understand. Because you're not trying to convince them. You're trying to become undeniable. Undeniable is built in silence. Undeniable is built when no one claps. Undeniable is built when it's boring, repetitive, frustrating, lonely, and you still show up. That is why most people fail. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, because they lack staying power. They start strong and vanish. They talk big and disappear. They post quotes and avoid the work. They want the fruit without the roots. But the roots are where the conquest begins. You want wealth. Then understand this. Money follows value, and value follows mastery, and mastery follows discipline. You want respect. Then build self-respect first by doing the hard thing you keep avoiding. You want freedom. Then stop living like a slave to impulse. Freedom is not doing what you want. Freedom is being able to do what you must, regardless of what you want. That's the kind of freedom that creates empires. And empires are not just businesses. An empire can be a body you built through relentless training. An empire can be a mind you rebuilt through study and focus. An empire can be a family line you changed by choosing to become the first disciplined one. An empire can be a life so aligned with purpose that you become a lighthouse for everyone around you. But it starts with a decision, not a preference, not a hope, not a try, a decision. Because try is what people say when they're protecting themselves from accountability. Try leaves wiggle room for failure. Try is the language of half commitment. And half commitment gives you half a life. The decided speak differently. They say, I will. They say, I do. They say, this is who I am now. And when you adopt that identity, something in your brain begins to reorganize. You stop looking for reasons to escape. You start looking for ways to win. You start seeing obstacles not as stop signs, but as signals that you're on the right path. Because resistance is proof of direction. If the path is easy, it might be leading nowhere. The climb is confirmation. The pressure is preparation. The discomfort is the old you being evicted. And yes, it will hurt. Growth always hurts. Not because it's wrong, but because it's real. Your muscles don't grow without tension. Your character doesn't grow without trials. Your mind doesn't sharpen without friction. Steel is not forged in comfort. And neither are you. So decide. Decide with your whole chest. Decide with the kind of conviction that makes your excuses sound ridiculous. Decide with the kind of seriousness that turns your distractions into strangers. Decide like a person who understands that time is not promised. Because time is the one resource you cannot earn back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose friends and find better ones. You can lose status and rebuild it. But you cannot get yesterday back. And if you keep waiting, one day you will wake up and realize you've been practicing for a life you never started. That ends now. Not tomorrow. Not Monday. Now. You don't need to feel ready. You need to be ready to move without the feeling. Because feelings are weather. Purpose is climate. Feelings change. Purpose remains. If you build your life on feelings, your life will collapse every time the storm comes. But if you build your life on decision, on definite purpose, on disciplined action, then storms don't destroy you. Storms reveal you. Storms show you what you're made of. And you were not made to fold. You were made to rise. Now let's talk about the thing that scares people the most. A definite purpose. Not a vague wish. Not, I want to be successful. That's not purpose, that's noise. Purpose is specific. Purpose is demanding. Purpose is the reason you get up when you don't want to. Purpose is what gives suffering meaning. Because suffering without meaning becomes bitterness. But suffering with meaning becomes strength. A definite purpose turns pain into fuel. It turns rejection into redirection. It turns failure into feedback. And it turns work into worship. You don't need to know every step. But you do need to know the destination. And you need to decide that you will reach it, whether it takes a year or 10. That's the difference. Most people want a timeline. The decided want a result. They don't ask, how fast can I get it? They ask, what kind of person must I become to deserve it? Because the real prize is never the money. The real prize is the person you become on the way to earning it. Money is just a receipt. The character is the product. And if you chase money without building character, the money will leave you. But if you build character, money becomes an echo of your value. This is why Hill's greatest revelation still hits like thunder today. Riches begin in the mind, not in the stock market, not in luck, not in a viral moment. In the mind, in the decision to think differently, to act differently, to demand more from yourself than the world demands from you. Because the world will let you be average. The world will not stop you from wasting your potential. The world will gladly take your attention, your energy, your years, and give you entertainment in return. And entertainment is the most expensive drug on the planet. It costs people their destiny. They scroll their life away. They consume other people's dreams and call it inspiration. They watch success like it's a movie instead of building it like it's a mission. But you, if you're listening to this, you're not here to be entertained. You're here because something in you is tired of your own delay. Something in you is ready to step out of the crowd. Something in you is ready to stop being a spectator in your own life. Good. Because the next level will demand a new standard. And standards are the secret weapon of the decided. Your standards decide what you tolerate. Your standards decide what you repeat. Your standards decide what you become. If your standard is convenience, you will live a convenient life, and it will be small. If your standard is excellence, you will live a demanding life, and it will be powerful. Raise your standard, and your habits will rise to meet it. But don't confuse standards with perfection. Perfection is fear. Perfection is procrastination in a tuxedo. Standards are different. Standards are a commitment to show up, improve, and finish. Standards are the decision to do the work, even when it's messy. Standards are the decision to keep moving even when you don't have all the answers. Because action creates answers. Action reveals the next step. Action builds momentum. And momentum is a weapon. A small action repeated daily becomes an unstoppable force. Most people underestimate the compounding power of discipline. They think success is a giant leap. But success is often 1,000 small steps taken without negotiation. It's waking up and doing the thing you said you'd do. It's training when you're tired. It's studying when you'd rather escape. It's saving when you'd rather spend. It's building when you'd rather consume. It's speaking life into yourself when your mind tries to betray you. And make no mistake, your mind will try to betray you. It will bring up old stories, old failures, old labels. It will say, you're not that person. It will say, who do you think you are? It will try to drag you back to the identity that keeps you safe. But you are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the worst thing you've ever done. You are not the voice of doubt in your head. You are the one who hears it. And the moment you realize that, you gain power. Because you can choose which voice gets fed. You can choose which story becomes dominant. You can choose which identity becomes real. And identity is everything. A man who identifies as disciplined will behave differently than a man who identifies as lazy. A woman who identifies as powerful will carry herself differently than a woman who identifies as broken. Your identity is the blueprint your habits follow. So decide who you are. Not who you were. Who you are now. And then prove it to yourself through action. Not once. Daily. That's how self-respect is built. Self-respect is not an affirmation. It's evidence. It's the result of keeping promises to yourself until you trust yourself again. Because some of you don't lack motivation. You lack trust. You've broken too many promises to yourself. You've told yourself you change and then you didn't. You've told yourself you start and then you waited. You've told yourself you stop and then you went back. So your own word has lost weight in your own mind. And that is a painful place to live when you can't even believe yourself. But that can be rebuilt. Not with guilt, with integrity. One promise, one day, one rep, one page, 1 hour of focused work, one disciplined choice when no one is watching. Do that long enough and you will feel something return. Power, not power over others. Power over yourself. And self-mastery is the foundation of all mastery. A person who can master their appetite can master their finances. A person who can master their attention can master their craft. A person who can master their emotions can master their relationships. Because the world outside is always changing. But the world inside must be governed. And governance begins with decision. Now understand this, your decision must be protected. Because the moment you decide, distractions will circle you like vultures. They don't want you focused. They don't want you consistent. They don't want you dangerous. Because a focused person is dangerous. A disciplined person is dangerous. A person with a definite purpose and a settled mind is dangerous to every system built on distraction and despair. So you must guard your mind like it's sacred. Because it is. What you watch matters. What you listen to matters. Who you spend time with matters. The conversations you entertain matter. Every input is a vote for the person you are becoming. And some of you are voting against your own future every day without realizing it. You say you want greatness, then you feed your mind trash. You say you want wealth, then you surround yourself with people who romanticize being broke. You say you want peace, then you keep giving your attention to chaos. You cannot plant poison and harvest power. You cannot train in distraction and expect focus to appear. You cannot live in comfort and expect courage to grow. So choose. Choose your inputs. Choose your circle. Choose your environment. If you can't change your environment, change your relationship with it. Become the one who sets the tone. Become the one who brings standards into rooms that don't have any. Become the one who says, not here, not anymore. And while you're becoming, while you're building, while you're climbing, you will be tempted to compare. Comparison is a trap. Comparison is a thief. Comparison will take your joy, your focus, your momentum, and replace it with bitterness. Because you will always find someone ahead of you and someone behind you. The only comparison that matters is between who you are today and who you were yesterday. That's it. Your race is with your old self. Beat that person. Outwork that person. Outgrow that person. And do it without applause. Because the greatest victories happen privately before they're ever seen publicly. Now, there is another force hill talked about that people misunderstand today. They think visualization is fantasy. They think imagination is childish. But every empire was imagined before it was built. Every invention was seen in the mind before it was held in the hand. Disney saw a kingdom before there was a park. Ford saw an assembly line revolution before the whirl.